Well, hello, everybody. Happy January. Anthony, how are you?
Welcome back. Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Stephen?
Back. Excellent. Are we allowed to still say Happy New Year? Like,
I
what,
don't
what, what do
think
you
so.
think? Are
No,
you allowed
no,
to at
Right.
this stage? No?
I don't think so.
You
I think
are
given that there's
to,
hot,
yeah?
I think given that there's hot cross buns in the supermarket, that the focus is now on Easter already.
Yeah, we've always started buying some of those at Baker's Delight. It's like a bit scary. And the
Yeah,
variety. Oh my God, there's so much different variety these days, right? So
yeah.
anyway, welcome back. It's January. It's hopefully everyone had a good break. Had a huge group of people today register, so obviously very excited. I know there's been one topic in particular that everyone's wanting to know more about, so we're obviously going to
Chomping at the bit.
today. Yeah, so yes, the new shelf event for payroll that's happening, but we're going to talk about that, and I'll get onto that in a minute. I got Melora with me, and Melora manages our learning services portfolio, if you like, and lots of happening, and of course there's going to be lots of happening with payday. There's lots happening end of year, so she's just going to give you a taste of what's happening as we get the engine started for the end of financial year. So that's going to be a rolling update each month, so you'll be aware of what to join and how to get those programs. And of course, Philippa, obviously part of the team every month. So how are you doing, Philippa?
Awesome. Thank you. Happy New
Right.
Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
And it's almost the end of January. Isn't that terrifying?
That's pretty
I
much the
know.
end of
We're
June,
almost
aren't
1
we?
month
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
Melora, have you been buying hot cross buns? Be honest.
I did actually buy some. I am
You
very
did.
partial to the supermarket ones. I know I'm ashamed to admit, but I
Yeah.
actually just was in the States, and they are very into their New Year, their Christmas, all of that. But Valentine's Day, they don't do Easter yet because the second they got rid of the Christmas things, the Valentine's Day
Nice stuff.
products came
Yeah.
out. So thankfully, it's
Yeah.
not so big here yet.
Yeah, the consumerism around those
Mhm.
holidays around Christmas is pretty huge. Like Halloween's
Yeah.
another one, isn't it? All right, let's
Mhm.
get into it. So, welcome everybody, and again, yeah, great to have you back for the new year. So, the agenda got a packed agenda today. So, Anthony and I will go through some of the product updates. Then we're going to Melora will talk about some of the learning services, and I'm going to talk a little bit about outsourcing. I want to just raise a couple of points around there for people that have asked questions. Compliance, I guess we'll get into Payday Super, which is the big one, and that's what we're going to talk about, and then just everything else around there. We've got the APA Summit coming up again. Okay, so for housekeeping, I just wanted to do the normal look. We are recording this. You'll get the recording. If you have any questions, you can, and we'll monitor those. There is a chat to the right of your user interface. You can start asking questions now. I just wanted to bring up one thing. So I've got some feedback that some of the questions that people have asked, either they haven't received responses for, and they're just wondering, did they get missed or whatever. So a couple of things just to point out. Yes, we do endeavor to answer every question, but there's a couple of options in the chat. You can be anonymous, or you can actually put your name, which will have your email address on there as well. Where we have email addresses, the likes of Philippa or the team have been pretty diligent at getting back to people directly, right? Where it's anonymous, then we can't get back to you directly. So if you do feel like you don't want to share your name or details, that's fair enough. You don't have to. So there's no requirement to do that. You can stay anonymous. But we need to figure out a mechanism where we can provide those anonymous questions. And if it's Payday Super, we'll build that starting on some of the hosted pages that we're creating on Payday, like we do with STP2, and so forth. Or we might have another platform you can use, but it does become difficult, and we do have questions that are anonymous. So please, if you feel okay with it, please let us know who you are. We will never mention names. Anthony and I will never mention names on this platform. So, and then we'll never raise your question with your name. So just to be clear. Okay. So anyway, so I just wanted to clarify that. I don't want anybody to feel like they haven't received a response from us. We do try to get back to everybody, where we can. So Anthony, anything to add on that?
Yeah, no, the only other thing is that we are also here, we don't have a fixed agenda on these things. So if there's things that we would like, that our audience would like us to cover and to bring up, whether that's product or industry, or even we also get guest speakers on, which we'll probably have throughout the year as well as we get into the middle of the year. We're happy to take those suggestions as well. So, put a comment in the chat. I always generally share my email address in these things too, so you feel free to send me some details or some requests. So this is really not about us talking about ourselves. It's really about what's going on in the world of payroll, and what we recognise is the world of payroll always has challenges in terms of the legislation. There's always a million things going on from a legislative standpoint, and we sort of recognise that keeping up to date with these things is really tricky. So this is why we're doing this. We don't do this for any other reason. We're doing this to help communicate to our customers, communicate to how we can support you, what we can do, what your options are. These are all just options. Everything we do here is just really saying this is what we're doing as a business. So nothing's mandatory. You don't have to take on learning services or consulting or do different things. But what we do know is that these options are very, very popular. And I know personally that keeping up to date with all the different things that we're doing is a task in itself. So whilst we do email out, those things can be a bit hard to consume sometimes. So what we decided to do was put this together so that we can have a platform where we're just communicating to you in a really frank and very easy way, where you can consume it at your own leisure. And hopefully that just helps you out in the role that you do to all our valued customers, really, across all the different platforms.
Amazing, well put. And we do have a growing contingent that keeps coming to our events. So thank you very much for that. All right, let's get into product. Anthony.
So one of the first things, so whilst there's less people, this is to do with Micropay. So for those Micropay customers that are online right now, welcome, of course, and welcome to everybody. But for Micropay customers that are still operating on premise, we still are obviously supporting that. So there's no problem with you being on premise. But the one thing to point out is that this year we have, this happens every now and again, the SQL edition. So SQL is the software that the database, the Micropay database, sits on. You don't need to know what that is specifically, but what you do need to know is that the SQL edition of 2016 will be unsupported by Microsoft in July this year. What that means is that you really should be upgrading the software that Micropay sits on. So not Micropay itself, it's the software that Micropay is hosted on in your server. And what you can do to just test that out yourself, we'll share these slides, so don't worry. But in your actual Micropay, the screen on the right-hand side there should look somewhat familiar to you. You get to that screen by going to Utilities Registration and clicking next 3 times. When you're in this screen, please don't change any details in there, your registrations, details, your name of the company, all those things, because it will impact your registration. But what you need to do is just navigate to that screen, and you'll see in the highlighted box the SQL edition that your Micropay sits on. The one that sits in here and is quite small writing for my eyes, but it says SQL Server 2022. If that says SQL Server 2016, you need to talk to your IT people about getting that upgraded. The reason we call this out is that you don't want to be doing SQL upgrades in June when you're doing end of year. So we'll call this out a couple of times throughout the next few months. But if you are on SQL 2016, you've got 2 options: update your SQL edition, or you can go to our hosted environment where you don't have to worry about these kinds of things. Options completely yours. There's good reasons why sometimes people are on premise. There's sometimes good reasons why you go to cloud. But make that decision yourself. The call out is have a look at your SQL edition, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, and
please
good call
don't do
Anthony.
it in June.
Yeah, don't do it in June. Good call it, Anthony, on that. With Hosted, we get a regular stream of our customers going on to Hosted for various reasons. This is kind of one of them, that they don't have to manage the infrastructure and the updates and the security and all that sort of stuff. Look, if you're interested in talking about Hosted, you want to have a conversation, there's no obligation. Maybe just put in the chat, can I review Hosted and the options there? I can get the account managers to take you through the pros and cons of us hosting your environment. But yeah, it just takes away this sort of stuff. You don't have to worry about it. So excellent. Thanks, Anthony. Okay, we'll talk about somebody saying they can't see us. Maybe you're down there. Okay, cool. It's just the configuration of the screen, guys, that, our producers are here as doing in the background. So just so the screens are a little bit bigger than our rough heads. Okay, so let's go through product updates, Anthony. I'll let you take the first 3 and I'll take the last one maybe.
Lots happening. These are just guesstimates right now. They're not. We can't put specific dates to the releases that we're having or that we're expecting to have. The reason we wanted to, highlight this is that is just for, it's an FYI, right? So in Micropay, we are expecting an update for New Zealand, so that will come out to update us on the New Zealand tax scale codes and whatnot. So that'll be in March. We are expecting updates to bring the software into line with the legislative requirements for Payday Super. So that is basically a call out for all of the products on screen. So Micropay, WageEasy, Attaché, Definitive, they will all get updates to bring those products into line with the Payday Super requirements, because there are some things that will change in the product that are required for Payday Super. So in Micropay, we're expecting New Zealand updates in March. We're expecting an update in June to do with Payday Super. For WageEasy, we're expecting a March update for New Zealand. We expect an update in May, and then in July we'll have the PDL updates like we normally do for rate changes and tax changes. Attaché, we are thinking it's going to be March for the Payday Super updates, and Definitive actually is now updated every month. So there's frequent updates in Definitive because it's full cloud native. It's a bit easier for us to do. But there will be updates roughly around May for Payday Super specifically. These are guesstimates, so these are subject to change, subject to testing, subject to all those different things. But we just wanted to call this out because it's worth keeping your eyes on release notes this year, in particular because of the legislation changes. So please keep an eye on those things.
Cool. Thanks, Anthony. So I've got a video to run for Definitive. We're going to talk about this timesheet attachments feature that the team and Sarah has just released. So we're going to run about just a minute or minute and a half video now, just on that. So get Sahira to run that now.
The timesheet attachments feature allows employees to attach a photo or image to their timesheet, making it easy to provide supporting documents or evidence of completed work. As a system administrator, you can manage both employees' and managers' access to the timesheet attachments feature. For your employees, you'll need to configure 2 configurations of security permissions to enable this feature. Let's look from your employee's perspective. If the Add Attachment to Timesheets permission is enabled, employees can add an image to their web-based timesheet by clicking the Add Attachment button. This opens a file browser where they can select a file up to 10 megapixels. Once selected and attached, they can preview the image by clicking on it. Before submission, they can still change or remove the image while the timesheet is in draft. Employees can also add attachments via the mobile app. After clocking in, the Attach option will appear. They can take a photo or choose one from their image library. To preview an image, tap the attachment to open a pop-up preview. Now, let's look from the manager's perspective. Managers will see a paperclip icon in the Attachments column for timesheets with attachments. They can view or download attachments from the Pending Requests screen without extra permissions. Additionally, managers can open the timesheet by clicking the View button to add, modify, or remove an attachment.
Thanks, Sahira. Excellent. So yeah, really simple feature. I think that's it's been asked for a little bit, and I think it's going to be high value just to make sure there's good governance around these timesheets. So cool. All right. I think that's
cool. If you want, there's so much going.
Unless you've got anything else, yeah.
No, I'm just checking on. I had a question come through for SQL for Attaché. My understanding is Attaché uses, and I've been phoning a friend through Teams actually, so I've been speaking to our product experts in the background. So I'll just answer that question in a moment when I've got my clarification answer. Okay, so the Attaché database, I am told, uses, and I'm not the expert, so I'm just paraphrasing here, not when it comes to Attaché anyway, that they use a database called Faircom. So the SQL edition issue is not relevant to Attaché customers. It is more so relevant to MicroPay customers that are on premise. If you're a MicroPay customer in our cloud, don't worry about anything to do with any updates. You don't have to worry about it. If you're an on-premise MicroPay customer, please do check out that SQL edition. When we share the notes, you'll get the links and you can see how to do that check, and also how to you can see the Microsoft link, which shows the details about that end of life.
Amazing. I picked up a couple of questions in there, Anthony, as well. So remember, we've got a bunch of customers from each of the different products, and not every product is the same. And obviously, different products suit different environments and for different reasons, right? But there is a couple of questions in there. People saying, "Oh, do we have options for our product to do something like what I just showed, or is there options maybe to look at maybe another product, in this family?" Absolutely. Like, I think it's just a matter of saying, look, I like what I have, but I want to look at potential options, and we're here to help you with whatever the best product is for your environment. So we'll get an account manager, have a discussion with you, and just talk to you about your options, right? So again, options that always are going to be looking at hosted as an option, right? And I'll talk about managed service in a minute. And again, we'll keep you up to date on Payday Super. So Payday Super is another question that's come through. Yes, every product will be Payday Super ready.
Yes.
It's just that how you manage that through your clearinghouse. And so we'll talk about that in the Payday Super section. If we can hold on for that one at the moment, I'll give you some information.
Yeah.
So yeah, great questions, team. Lots of questions coming through. So thank you very much. Melora, you're here. Let's get you on screen. There she is.
Excellent.
On stage.
Welcome, Melora.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here. I'm excited to be presenting at this webinar for my first time here.
I know.
Will be nice.
Will be nice.
Thank you. Yeah, be gentle with me.
You're fine.
I've got big shoes to fill. Filling in not filling in. It will now be me representing the Learning Services team. So thanks for having me. So I'm excited to be sharing what the Learning Services team has lined up to support your payroll teams. So I'll talk about what we've got coming up, and then stay tuned that we will be talking about next month, getting ready for our end of financial year. So we've got to keep you coming back and excited for what else is coming up. So we have developed 2 brand new courses, and we are also, of course, continuing to offer our popular end of year training for New Zealand customers as well. So first up, we have our Definitive Advanced Payroll Processing course. This is specifically designed for teams who want to move beyond the basics and really leverage what Definitive can do. So this is a 4.5-hour virtual instructor-led course, and it covers the scenarios that tend to trip people up. So redundancy pays, one-off payments like bonuses and FBT, and entering corrections when things don't go to plan. We'll also dig into the reporting side, so showing you how to customize grid reports and creating variants that actually work for your business. The key prerequisite is that attendees need to have completed our Run Your Pay VILT first, and this ensures that everyone's got the foundational knowledge before we tackle the more complex scenarios. What makes this course valuable is that it is hands-on, so you'll leave confident to handle those tricky adjustments and terminations, and you'll know when to use manual pays versus standard processing. Our second new course is our MicroPay Experienced User Learning Unit 3, and think of this as your masterclass for the unexpected. This is a 5-hour course, and it walks experienced users through things like complex scenarios, creating off-cycle pay runs, handling back pays across partial and full periods, processing terminations and redundancies, and giving you confidence to master those advanced calculation features that can save you hours. We'll also be covering things like bulk processing with the multi-employee timesheet and the calculation worksheet. So this course will build on the Learning Unit 1 and Learning Unit 2. So it's for teams who are already comfortable with employee maintenance and the standard pay run. It does include a learn on demand lab, so you can practice in your spare time, because don't you all have spare time? If only, but in a safe environment rather than practicing on your real life micropay. And then we're continuing our popular MicroPay New Zealand end of year course. This is an interactive e-learning that walks you through the New Zealand teams through the 19 steps of their end of year process. Covers everything you need, including understanding payday filing impacts on your last pay, producing the critical reports that you need before the March upgrade, and updating all the tax parameters. And this year, we are also offering you the New Zealand Employee Maintenance and Run Your Pay manuals as an added bonus. So if you are interested in any of those, you can click on the Register Now button and have a look at more information about those courses. And
Amazing.
that is it from me.
I'm going to take away masterclass for the unexpected. You are a marketer, aren't you? Because that's how that is awesome. I love that. A masterclass for the unexpected.
I did a little bit of playing around with the wording, but
I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Melora. And Melora will be a regular fixture with us as we end the year at all the updates that you can go. And we talked about it earlier today, but there's, the good old Glenn will be joining us.
Glenn's back.
He
we love Glenn.
Yeah, he's
Glenn's
very
back,
popular.
Yeah. He's rusted onto Excel.
So Glenn's back. When are we expecting Glenn? I know you don't have all the details, but roughly speaking.
In May, he will be coming back in May, and stay tuned for more information.
Amazing. Thank you, Melora. I'll cover off the consulting.
I'm getting anxiety, Steve.
Are you?
Well, you've got
how much
March,
payroll do you have to process?
Well, this is the thing. I don't have any actually, but you just think about it. You've got 6 months, right? We're already 1 month in, so that's 5. You've got end of year for if you've got a New Zealand payroll. You've got end of year in March, and then you've got normal end of year in June, normal or Australian end of year, whatever you want to call it. And you've got payday super amongst it. I mean, I always find that this 6 months feels short. I feel like the first, this half of the year is a short half, even though it's the same 6 months as the second half. It's just jam packed when it comes to payroll.
It is a little stressful how much we have to do. Now, I have seen there's a question that's been asked of me about will these courses be offered again? So, the Definitive Run Your Pay, the MicroPay Experience User course, we will be offering these at least once a month. And if there is crazy demand for it, we will offer them more regularly. So, they will be offered regularly.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, I mean, just to see the increased numbers of people now adopting the learning services is great. So there is one thing I didn't mention in this too. We do have something called Flex Points. We can talk to you more about that maybe next time, but it's basically pre-purchase again, coupons, if you like, or vouchers, or whatever you want to call it, right? A pool of money that you can use for these things. So if you know you're going to spend, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 this year on some of this stuff, you can buy it in Flex Points and just accrue that over the period. And that way you get one PO, simplify it, you know what you need to spend. So it's a good way of just making sure you manage your outgoings. So thank you, Melora. Fantastic. You did a fantastic job. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, so just consulting. I'm not sure we covered off this last year, but the New Year rates, allowances, and award updates. There's an option there for you. It's all in the register. Just click on the Learn More, and there's a program you can get consulting services on. There's also Evo for MicroPay Discovery. So there's a lot happening in Evo Standard, creating reports, looking at dashboards, things like that. I'll check to see what we have for Attaché as well. And Definitive, we'll cover that off next month. And long service leave, by the looks of it, including commissions and bonuses. So again, some of these things that Melora mentioned that, kind of trip people up, then, you can hand it over to consulting to help you to set up or manage as well. So you can learn or you can hire, we just want to give you that coverage either way, whichever direction you want to go with it. So You've got these. Oh, by the way, you'll get the deck. I mentioned this before, and all the links will work when you get the deck. So it'll be in PDF. You can click on the links; they will all work. Okay, I'm conscious of time. I do want to get Philippa on here because, we do. I do want to mention though that we do have outsourcing as well. Now, outsourcing kind of gets a bad, a bad go at it because people think that, it's just taking away people's jobs. Look, outsourcing's really changed as a managed service. There's a lot of customers that look at us with help for outsourcing, but they don't change necessarily their infrastructure, right? It's not about removing people from, and important people from their jobs. It's really about taking away some of the overheads for the business so they can focus on strategic direction within the business. Payroll and the APA saying payroll is becoming more strategic, right? Looking at labor costs, tracking things against projects, all this stuff that's really super important that they need payroll to help with. And payroll can serve that. But, if you're spending just time in processing pay runs and not being more strategic in the business, then potentially something like outsourcing can really help. And that's the feedback we're getting. And even statistics show that 65 to 75% of people would love to be able to remove some of those overheads so they can be more strategic. So that's what we're finding that people are saying when it comes to the surveys. So please do not look at outsourcing. Talk to us. It's also a way of getting onto a cloud environment, a migrated sort of cloud environment. So if you're looking at migrating onto the hosted environment, you might want to take a leapfrog step to outsourcing and consider it because you get both. You get the managed service and you get the outsourcing services as well. So please, outsourcing is not what it used to be 5 or 6 years ago, where all it was just about, people just talking about, am I going to lose my job? I think payroll, Anthony, you showed a couple of slides in the past where, the legislation is just going to payroll.
Yeah,
okay.
This is crazy.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into Payday Super. I just want to use the next 20 odd minutes to spend really time on this. I think this is a super important subject, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions. So young Philippa is on the deck now, and she's going to go through some slides with us and take us through a bit of a journey. But before we do that, I'm just going to run a bit of a poll. I just want to see where everybody's up to. So I'm going to get Zahira in the background to run this poll. You'll see it come up in your user interface, and please ask. So the first one is, are you aware of Payday Super? That's obviously a yes or a no. And I'm assuming most of us here, I'm hoping are going to be yes. The second question, get that up in a second. All right. I don't know if I lost the question. Zahira, do you have to bring up the second question, or did I lose the question? I might have lost the question. Just give me 1 second. I can pivot. I'll bring the second question up, which is, apologies, second question is going to be, are you aware of the consequences to your cash flow? So again, that's a yes or no. And you've got the third question there. Have you thought about payment methods for your super? Because this is some of the things that Philippa will cover off today.
Can't say I saw this one coming, like you sort of can understand STP1, you can understand STP2, you kind of get that, they're getting a lot more data out of employers. It makes sense. It's good for them to know. The government wants to know these things, but I just did not see super coming as the next thing,
Yeah. Okay. Let's
think about it in terms, though, of the economy. I think you're thinking about this in terms of payroll and data collection. And instead, if you think about this in terms of the economy, we're an ageing population in Australia, and we need everyone to have as much in super as we can. And one of the things that's stopping that from happening is when businesses are a bit tardy with their super payments into an employee's fund. And Payday Super means that those payments are going in sooner rather than quarterly. So you've got the ability to build up that interest on those payments.
Yeah, you
and
might
so
get it
at the end of the day,
it's 2 months or something. Yeah,
absolutely. It allows them a better oversight.
I sort of get that. I would have thought though that they'd this is me just talking off the cuff, I suppose, but I would have thought that they'd initially go, you know what, we're going to get rid of quarterly. Let's just go to monthly first.
Yeah.
As a stepping stone.
I was at a meeting last night, and I felt that the ATO had got caught short with this. and the ATO, some divisions of it have admitted it, but it was the entire ATO that got caught short. They didn't expect it to get passed through Parliament as quickly as it did in the format that
I
it was
didn't
in.
either, no. That's what I'm saying. I would have thought monthly first rather than having the option of
Test it
monthly
out.
quarter. I get quarterly is quite a long time between payments, right? I get that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on with it. Sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Can we bring that up, Sahira? So let's just see what the crowd has said. Okay, so I
Yeah.
think we expected that one to be yes. That's great.
That's
so
reassuring.
hopefully, no brainer. It's reassuring. Couple of people there. So yeah, that's all good. Fair enough. Second one. Cool. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So that's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. There's that
That's
kind
good.
of follows from that last question. So the cash flow you'll need to make sure that you can make the payment. So that's fantastic. That's a good result. And the third one's the one I'm most interested in. Okay, good. Okay, so you thought about your payment methods. Great. So I think that's, for me, one of the key things. You just need to make sure that you run your payments. And Philippa will go into the time phasing of things, which can scramble people's brains to make sure that they're aligned with the payment cycles that, the weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and anyway. But look, as I say, I bring the SMEs here because I'm the dumbest guy in the room, right? So Philippa, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. And I'm sorry that this is such a dry topic, but it's really important that we get a grasp of what's happening. So there's a couple of ways that we're going to look at this, and it might be repetitive. So if I repeat the same information over and over, please bear with me. In terms of your payroll processing, there are two things which are going to impact you, or three, but two of them are coupled. The first is your STP file creation. Your file creation is going to happen the same way as it happens now, but the contents of your STP file is going to change. So previously, ordinary time earnings was a field called O, and it was an optional field. So both Micropay and Attaché have an O field in them. That will be replaced by a field called Q, which stands for qualifying earnings. And Wage, Easy, and Definitive have never had O, so they will get a Q field that is a new field. All that happens under the covers. You don't need to do anything. As it's released, you might want to go and review, or we would recommend that you go and review what items that you're saying meet that Q criteria. So, for example, commissions. Previously, commissions may or may not have been part of OTE, depending on what it was for. In the new regime, all commissions are part of QE or Q. So you will need to make sure that you've got that mapped correctly. We'll look at that mapping down the track once you've got the products, and we can show you what the screens are going to look like. But now it's more a theoretical thing. So as I said, you don't need to change any of your process. That happens in the file, and just you submit your STP as normal. Secondly, you will be submitting your super with your pay every pay run. So that's the bit that's going to change. Where you've previously done it quarterly, you're now going to be sending that file every pay run, and the payment too. And you've got 7 business days starting from the payday for that money to be in the fund. Okay, so that's the big difference. You can run the gauntlet and say you're going to submit it on day 6, but if you have a payment that bounces, so you've got one employee and they've sent you the wrong details or anything like that, you've still only got that 7-day window. Super funds now have 3 days to return that to you if there's an error. And so if you're submitting it on day 6 and you've got an error, you're not going to make your 7-day window. So we recommend that you send it on payday to buy that time in case you've got any errors in there. Okay? That's
the part that I got caught up on, actually, when we first started reading about this, is that it actually has to be received by the fund themselves. And it's a bit hard to judge when the fund is going to actually get money, because we're all using clearinghouses, whether it's Beam or whether it's anything, we're all using a clearinghouse of some sort.
correct.
The clearinghouse, though, would then on-forward the funds to that end, the REST or HESTA or whoever it is. They need to have actually got the money. which is why you need to sort of forward date this stuff, right? Like, I'm not sure forward date's the right sort of thing, but you've got to get on it straight away to allow for a possible error that might occur in a membership number or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess from a payroll processing perspective, they're the two things, or the three bits at play. So it's not a huge panic, except you need to think about how you plan your day. If you're working part-time, that you now allow enough time to do that super part as part of your processing day. Okay. So the timings of the contribution, and I apologise, we did have pictures in here of what the initial proposed legislation showed, and we've taken the images out, so now the screen looks a bit dry. But it was just a picture of a calendar which showed about it. So you think about 7 days. The fact they've changed it to 7 business days, which is allowed for public holidays. So you think about, if you think about Australia Day or Easter or Christmas, where you've got a couple of public holidays back to back. Initially, it was 5 calendar days, and now it's 7 business days. So that gives you that bit of extra breathing room when there is a public holiday. But just to clarify again, the super clearinghouses and the super funds have 3 days to return a payment that's a problem. So if you're thinking about your 7 days, you've got your day 1, your day 2, your day 3, anything's going to be bounced back by day 3. Then you've got 4, 5, 6, and 7 to have it all confirmed that it's been received and accurate. Okay. So this goes through that picture of when it goes and if it's bounced. So if it shows you there that it might be bounced on day 3, but you've still got till day 7 to get it back in. It is a tight window, particularly, like I said, if you've got part-time payroll staff. So if you've got a business where you've got someone who comes in and does payroll processing 2 days a week, you're going to need to allocate someone in your business who's keeping an eye on if anything's been bounced on day 3. You need a process in place to do that. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, it might be. It's quite sorry, Phil, but there could be quite commonly people that are part time that only just do the payroll. They don't do anything else. No one else is touching the payroll. They come in, run pays, come back the next week, run pays again. The reality is they're going to have to come back in and be looking in the next day to say, "Hang on, has something come back? Has there been any errors or any issues?"
Yeah,
and potentially allocate time to go in. Actually, like I don't know, maybe payroll takes the day, right? For example. They might have to be coming in for an hour or 2 the next day just to do the superannuation or something,
yeah, absolutely. So either you want to have something set up on, if depending on the business, and I mean, this is entirely a business decision, you might do something so that your employee gets some sort of a remote notification and has the permission to act on their day off, or, have that relationship with them where they do act on their day off to resubmit. Or alternatively, you need somebody else in the business that's got oversight on those from day 3 that can see anything that's bounced and resubmit.
Yeah, you get it. It's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think Sarah was looking at putting something in Definitive feeds, so that in Definitive, if it bounces, it will show in your feed. That way there's more than one person that's got oversight.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I know she was looking into it when Evo first came out. So that's to,
but I mean, the thing is there, right? For all the products, right? You're going to do payroll. So you're a part-time payroll person. They come in once a week for every fortnight or whatever it is, depending on your pay cycle. They come process pays. They go home. You don't see them until the next week or something. That kind of behaviour, whether it's a day or 2 days, whatever it is. But that person's now going to have to make sure that following the pay run, maybe even a day or 2 days later, there's lots of comments coming up about, well, hang on, things don't come back necessarily the next day. It's a bit hard to speak to some of the specifics that in some of the questions we're getting in the chat. So, how long does it take for a bounce back to come back? I think there's some legislation, Philippa, that's going out.
They've got 3 days. They've got to return it in 3 days. They're going to have a common messaging system. So the super funds have got to have a common messaging system or coding system that shows you the reason why it's bounced back. They've been mandated to provide more clarity around that. I reached out to one of the clearinghouses that a lot of Wage Easy customers use, just because I know which one they use most prevalently. And I hope to get a list back from next week. At the moment, a lot of customers are asking us what that's going to look like, because we're kind of that first step in that process. But bear in mind, it's not us returning the payments or bouncing them. So we actually don't currently have visibility of what that looks like. But I have reached out, and as soon as I get any information, I will share it on this forum with you guys. Okay, so next one is thinking about this in an ongoing. So this shows it over a couple of pay cycles in a month, what it might look like. So you can see there, pay cycle number 3, you've gone over your period of time. So that one is going to attract some infringements problems. Interestingly, if you are looking at this in terms of payment and you skipped paying payment 3 and you paid payment 4, the ATO are going to allocate that 4th payment to the 3rd submission it's got. So you're then going to be, they're not going to attribute it to the 4th payment when it hits at the same time as the STP. They're going to look at the fact you're 1 payment in arrears and apply it to the prior one, just so you're aware of that.
I might just bring up one of the questions that come through, and I can't find it because they're coming in sort of thick and fast.
Yeah.
It was something to do with, even though we have 7 days to make the payment, I think the real interest, the determination of payment is not when you've paid it, it's when the payment's been received by the super fund.
Correct.
Which is why, so we have to think about this not as when you press send. You can't press send on day 7 and say you've met your 7 days. You need to press send on day 1 or day 2 to allow the funds to be sent, received, allocated, error messaged if there's an error message, to come back to you to then receive it and send it again. So this whole thing is not about when you press send, it's when the actual super fund receives the money. And that's the
when
really
they report to the ATO that they've received the money.
They've received it, yeah.
So think about this from the ATO side, not our side for a moment. The ATO are going to get your STP payment or your STP record, and the clock starts. And so they're going to go 7 days from then, and then they're going to say, has the super fund reported that I've got a matching amount of money attributed to that ABN that balances to the STP? Yeah. And if they've got it within 7 days, you get a green tick and you move on. If they don't have it within 7 days for any of those payments matching, and they're going to use your ABN. So just as a sidebar, you need to make sure that your ABN on your super submission is the same as your ABN on your STP file. So they look at the ABNs, they check that the 2 files balance and that the 7 days is compliant. So there are some exceptions. There are 3 basic exceptions to this. One is if you've got a brand new employee, you have up to 20 business days to do the submission. And that's particularly for if you put on a new junior, they might not come to you with an historical super fund, and they might need to sort themselves out to work out what to do and how to do it. If you've got an out-of-cycle payment, so you've had to do a back pay or you've had to do a leave payment or something that's not part of your normal pay cycle, then you can include that in your next regular pay run. And the third is if you've got exceptional circumstances in your busy business or the area that you're living, so example, fire and floods is pretty prevalent at the moment. So it'd be something like that where the business physically is having trouble meeting any compliance on any level. I hope that makes sense. You can find information about that on the ATO website. Just while I'm talking about that new employees piece, Fair Work Ombudsman put out an email today to say that there's been some changes in awards about super funds. So if you pay your employee under an award, a lot of awards have a default super fund that you should be using for your employees if they haven't stipulated something separately. So off the top of my head, it might be that they say if you're in a hospitality industry that you use Hostplus. They have reminded people to check their awards because new default funds have been added to many awards. So if you're not aware of that, you might just want to check that out just as a total off the track.
Just another to-do list item.
Yeah, well, I saw it this morning come through and I thought, okay, well, it's super related, so it's kind of on this track. So I think one of the things that's we've had a bit of communication with a number of people is that more people than we realised were using their ABA files to send their super off. So an ABA file is an Australian Banking Association file, which is what people use to pick up their wages out of their payroll system and drop it into their banking software and to then make all the payments transfer. So some of our customers are using the same mechanism to send their super payment. An ABA file has a service level agreement of 1 to 3 days. So if mostly it happens automatically, but there is that service level that says it can take up to 3 days. I would suggest that you consider looking at an alternative because you can't have that 3-day outer limit happen with this. I think the risk is
just
too
on that
great.
part of the process, yeah.
Just on that part of the process. So because you're already using your banking software to actually transfer the ABA file, it might be that you look at OSCO or one of the other more immediate payment methods in your accounting solution to transfer the money. If you're
monthly payrolls,
if you do your payrolls weekly, you might find that this is a bit of an overhead, like I said, particularly if you've got part-time staff where you only usually have them in 1 day a week processing. So you might consider now whether or not it's worth in your business changing this to a fortnight payroll frequency, just so you're only having to do the super once a fortnight. And on the other side of that, if you're paying monthly, where you're paying 2 weeks in advance and 2 weeks in arrears, most people that do payroll will know that sometimes in that second 2 weeks that you've paid in advance, an employee might terminate during that period, and therefore you'll be constantly chasing refunds if you've got a business that's got a high turnover.
Right? Yeah.
And is that what you want to be doing? Again, the refund process hasn't been fully scoped out by the ATO yet. I know they've got working group meetings in the next few days looking at what they can do and how to create efficiencies around that. They know it's going to be an issue. But in your business, you might want to start having these discussions with management now because they might not have thought about this.
I think we should preface this with the saying that obviously changing pay cycles is not necessarily that easy. But, and sometimes an award will say that you have to have a pay cycle in a particular period. But it's just a general statement, right? Or a union or something. So, but I mean, if there's something that, if it is up for conversation, it could be a thought in your business, particularly for your monthlies and maybe for your weeklies. I think fortnightly might be the way. Fortnightly in arrears is probably the safer option in the light of this conversation. But that's obviously not necessarily an up for discussion type of thing in all businesses. So.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about this purely as a payday centric discussion. We're not talking about how it's going to suit your business or any of your other mechanisms.
I think I might just jump in, guys, for two reasons. Number one, we've just clicked over the time clock, so we're a bit of overtime. It's important, so please stay with us. I know really nobody's dropping off, so thank you, and we'll keep going. So there's no rush on our side, and if you're happy to stay with us, please do. I'll let Philippa go, but let Philippa keep going. But I notice a lot of the questions can be, that you're looking for information that's a bit more about the legislation. So we can only go so far into answering some of those questions, right? We're not here to sort of, feed out you what either tax or payday lawyer would say, workplace, lawyer would say. So I would say, these are good questions to cover off more legally, and then with the ATO as well, and how the ATO is going to manage it. I think what I'm picking up as a vibe is that we want to set you up for a foundation for success, whichever way you want to go. But as far as you guys, processing and so forth, we can't force you to do anything. You've got to all we can do is guide you in what we believe is best for our customers. But again, some of these more legal and technical questions, we can only go so far, to be honest. So
that's right. Okay. And I mean, there's some comments in there about pay processes and things like that. There's one of the things that that he's been mentioning is how do you actually make the payment. So when we've got some of the software releases that have come through, we'll start looking at the actual what is changed in software when that is actually available. So watch this space. Right now, we're just wanting to bring your attention to what we do know so far. And the reality is there's lots that we don't know. As we do find out more information, like how do you get a refund to actually happen? So that stuff hasn't been teased out yet. So there's lots, and I think Philippa sort of mentioned that, the ATO themselves have been sort of caught out a little bit on this one. And that's we're seeing that as well. So what we will do is we'll continue to, as we learn more about this and as we understand more and as we can bring more to this forum, we will. We don't have all the answers right now, and that's just being completely blatantly honest.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of quick questions, which I know is going to blow the time out, but I can see that there's a couple of common ones. If an employee gives you the wrong information, unfortunately, that's still on the employer. And I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, and I'm in one of the ATO discussion groups about this, and we fought really hard. But it's still on the employer. If the information that the employee gives you is correct, you've still only got your 7 days, and that's harsh. So what we want you to do, what you can start doing now, is check all your data. You want to run as many checks as you can on all your employee superannuation information now. What each clearinghouse requires is inconsistent, and that is a real pain in the neck. So we can't tell you conclusively that these are the things you've got to check, but we've put a broad list in of the things that you want to check, that their first name and their last name is correct, their date of birth is correct, their address is correct, their tax file number, your ABN is correct. If you've got self-managed super funds, you need to make sure that the bank account detail is correct. And that the fund name of that self-managed super fund is correct. So you can start perhaps saying to employees, we need you to validate that this is correct and current. Membership numbers, check the fields, run your super reports. Are there any gaps, is probably where you start. And then you start going at your employees, you've got to check this, you've got to come back to me and confirm that you've checked it and it's correct and current. And you can be starting that process now.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Anything else? Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
The terminology OTE and QE, there is very little difference between the two and what they actually mean. A commission is one, which I mentioned earlier. Superannuation, salary sacrifice versus salary sacrifice for other things. So if you're salary sacrificing for super, then that's included in QE. If you're salary sacrificing for computer equipment, cars, other bits and pieces, that's not included in QE. Actors, politicians, board members, I think was the other one. They are now executive members of executive bodies. Their income is included in QE, where they used to not be included in OTE. But for most businesses, the big one is checking your commission and your salary sacrifices. Those would be the two things that I would check. Your quarterly super cap is going to be replaced with an annual super cap. We don't know what the values of the new super cap are going to be, so don't get caught up in the weeds. But just think that it used to be that you'd get to a quarter, and if the super was above that cap, it would stop paying, and it would do that quarterly. Now you've got your whole year before it stops. And lastly, if you're paying contractors super, this is not changing. If they didn't get super before, they don't get it now. But if you've got contractors that you're paying super to, and you're doing that through your AP system or your accounts payable system, again, you've only got the 7 days to do their superannuation. So you might want to say to your contractors, rather than bringing in an invoice each day in dribs and drabs, you can bring them in on a Monday and a Wednesday, or something like that, just again, so you're not having that huge amount of super payments. And cool. I reckon I'm done.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip on this one because it was mainly just about where people are at. We'll come back in the interest of time to the next one. Yeah. So I think we got some good information at the beginning. What I did want to cover off, and there is a bunch of questions around clearinghouses and what's the best path forward. I mean, we can't recommend a particular clearinghouse. Obviously, we'll get you set up with the file structure and that. But what we do, what we what you can look at is one of our partners, Beam. So Beam is in currently with Definitive as an option. It's now with Micropay. So if you're a Micropay customer online at the moment, let us know. If you want to just put in the chat, can we talk about Beam and our options? What Beam will do is it'll set you up basically to help you with that timeline. So once you get a file in place, Beam will automatically pick it up through the integration and start sending it out. So you're not having to wait, having to upload files, all that sort of stuff. So in the old school way, you'd create a file, you'd upload it to the clearinghouse, make sure it's there, all that sort of stuff. Beam will do that. It'll look and validate, bring anything back and any errors and that sort of stuff. So, Beam's a great option for, especially if you're a Micropay customer. I suggest you have a conversation with your account manager. So if you just would type in there, love to discuss Beam, I can get your account manager to have a call with you and discuss your options there. Okay. I see people are dropping off, and I get it. We're pretty much hitting the hour. So
that's my apology. Sorry, Steve.
No, this is important, and I think we need to allocate more time for the next couple. So you got the two rough heads. We're at the APA conference summit in October, and there's another one in March. The thing I wanted to mention is that all our customers, if they want to go to the APA summit, they do get a discount.
In Sydney.
25% in Sydney. So we'll see you in Sydney.
We'll see you in Sydney.
Yeah. That's Q&A. We'll get back to you on that one. There is a compliance guide. There is links for that as well. You can go to our blog, tips and tricks and stuff like that. And there's a LinkedIn page. You can follow us, please. Would be great. We'll give you updates on Payday Super and everything as well. All the webinars are here, the webinar recordings and everything you can get to. And then you've got a whole list there of where to next. And I just wanted to bring this up because we have created pages for Payday Super. And thanks to Philippa and the team, we will create individual pages for the products. And we will update you more on the impact to your product and what to look for and what to do. So each of the product managers is well aware of what they need to do in their product. Philip has mentioned a couple things between the O and the Q and adding that to Definitive and all that sort of stuff. So you will get updated on that. And if you go to these pages, you will see there's some general questions that might help you to answer some of your more general questions. But again, just to be honest with you guys up front, is that we're not the ATO. We don't set the legislation. So we just want to be careful not to give you information that is outside of our, governance.
We can only just bring the news, and we will continue to do that as the legislation becomes more apparent. So watch this space as we go forward.
Thank you. And we'll be basically running these for the next few months.
This next 6 months is going to be busy.
Yeah. All right, team. Thank you, Philippa. Thank you, Melora. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Zahir in the background, keeping us going. And all of our attendees, have a great day. And we'll see you next month. Make sure you sign up for next month.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.